And welcome to the Montana Sportscast podcast, Frontier Conference. Paul Panisco is out today. This is Bob Ritterott. We're going to be joined right away today by JC Isakson, the assistant women's coach at Providence University in Great Falls. How you doing, JC?
I'm doing well, Bob. How are you doing?
Well, I'm loving this weather, man. Loving the weather.
I agree. It's nice. It might be a little bit of a teaser, but we'll take it.
It's one day closer to summer. Let's put it that way.
That's right.
Well, Coach, let's kind of start off. Let's talk a little bit about the women's side, the conference. What's your thoughts this year? Kind of 3-3 split there. The teams have kind of made some space between each other, uh, but kind of compare it to what it's been in the past. You know, I I just don't think we're as competitive top to bottom as we have been in the past.
Yeah, still, obviously, still just a great, highly competitive league. You're exactly right. There's been a separation. The top three are kind of slugging it out, and then you got separation to the bottom three a little bit. But regardless of that, I any given night, I'm sure Coach Woolley and Coach Sayers and Coach Keller there are making sure that they come prepared every single night, and we're talking to our kids about coming prepared. And if playing each other three times in this third round, every single night you got to be ready to go on anybody you play. But definitely, you can see that there's been a separation, kind of top to bottom a little bit, and going into this third round, I mean, it kind of comes down to who's playing who where, and uh, teams are so familiar with each other. There's little wrinkles here and there, throw some things at them, but it's coming out to battling out the game for 40 minutes, and a lot of games will come down to the last minute or the last possession here in this third round.
We all talk about having to play each other three times, but it's really like it's about 25 times because these coaches have all played or coached against each other for, other than Coach Graham at Tech, for I don't know how. Wes is probably the newest coach of that bunch, and it's just like war, for
Yeah,
lack of
yeah.
better words.
No,
I
it absolutely is. Everybody's very familiar with each other, and it's not just the coaches, right?
Yeah.
Same officials over and over again, same players. We're still in the COVID years, so a lot of these student athletes have played a lot of games against each other. So it's obviously a very, very unique setting like that, and that's where, that's what kind of makes it a little bit so unique, especially going into this last one. Everybody's adding a little wrinkle here or there, but you know each other so well. Uh, it gets you got to get creative to steal a bucket here or there, or get a stop here or there, because teams know each other so well, and the scouts get a little bit different at this time of year.
Well, I kind of kid with Keller and Woolley a little bit. I say, this is the easiest game I can broadcast all year because you guys run the exact same plays, and not only that, but you call them the same thing. I says, at least one of you should rename the play so that when you call a number two out of bounds play, that maybe the other team won't know what you're going to run.
That's there's a lot of cool things about the Frontier Conference. But you just nailed one of them. And, I played for Coach Steve Keller, was on the men's side for a long time with him. And, you look around the league, and a lot of people are running his stuff, right? But then he's got Coach Mike McLean sitting on his bench, who he stole that from McLean back in the high school days. And,
Yeah.
you got Wes obviously coaching on the women's side there. You got Moat up in Northern. Um, and there's just so much similarities, and we all either call it the same exact thing, or we say that's our, they call out a play, and the other coaching staff is calling out what they call it, because they all
Yeah.
run, they all run the same stuff. And, you can throw Gary Turcotte's name in there too,
Yeah.
who the league has just been hugely influenced by him and a lot of these names. And it's names deeply entrenched in Montana basketball. And, you know, uh, last year when Wes and I were coaching against each other, when I filled in for a game for coach, we're just staring back and forth down the sideline at each other, wondering who's going to call what, because we're all running the same stuff. So makes it fun. Very unique setting, and just a special league. It's a special league to be able to be a part of it.
JC, I've known you since high school. We played against you in football. You and Brad played. My son played against each other, and I've always admired you. But talk a little bit. You bring Steve Keller up. Talk a little bit about the influence that Steve has had on you, and not necessarily the other coaches, but basically just you as a player and coach.
Yeah. Could easily even get emotional over that question. I appreciate the words, Bob. Coach Keller, played for him at Montana Western, and he gave me an opportunity. Saw me as a Class C kid. He was a Class C kid, and he just gave me an opportunity. And obviously eye-opening experience for me of how good a level the Frontier Conference basketball is, but. Early on, playing for him, I got to be part of the program that he built there at Western. I was in his first full recruiting class. Now, I didn't have any stellar career or anything like that there individually, but I just got to be part of what he built there, and getting going to those national tournaments. And then towards the tail end of my career there, uh, he kind of pushed me towards coaching a little bit. I went out, did 1 year at the high school level, knew I wanted to get into the college level, and he gave me my opportunity, and has just continued to give me opportunities ever since. My life, my basketball philosophy, how I approach things, he's had the biggest impact as any human being on me in my entire life. Not just from a basketball standpoint, but from all standpoints. So uh, owe the world to him, and just have a huge amount of respect for him. And in today's day and age, the world's changing a little bit, and Coach Keller's he's one from the old days. How he approaches things, how he coaches, how he does things, and I just want to carry that on, and as much as I can, and not just as a coach, but got a daughter, got twins on the way in June, and you know uh, raise children the way uh, he looked at life, and kind of that hard nose a little bit. So owe everything to him. Absolutely, he's had a major impact on my life, both basketball and personally.
Well, thanks for that. That had to be a little tough to answer, but I appreciate it,
I
JC.
appreciate
But
the question. Great question.
let's talk about your team a little bit. You guys, you got some COVID players came back, and talk about your team and how this year with the COVID players is affected, and how we are going to go forward without that COVID year.
Yeah. No, obviously a different looking team for the Argos this year. We graduated off of last year's team, set a school record for single season wins, co-conference champions, had a great year. Graduated 4 fifth-year seniors, all took their COVID year, two of which are iconic Hall of Fame numbers in the rafters jerseys, right? And Emily Maldonado and Parker Esri. But Kirsten Pemberton and Ellie Teske, the other ones, just when you have those kids that have been part of a program for 5 years, it's a player-led team at that time. And so obviously a transition after that. Reed Hazard came back for us, took her COVID year, who is just having a career year for us. everybody, including Reed, has taken a new role, right? We have girls, Brooklyn Harn, Reed Hazard, who were very, very good role players and strong players beside the next to the Parker and Emily, and they've stepped up and had to take on more load on their shoulders. And then likewise, other girls got to step up and take on um, the role spots that they left vacant. So different looking team. Obviously, losing those five or those four fifth-year players changes the outlook of your team. But we like what we have. We love McKenna Regier coming up as a freshman. She got injured this year, so missed a chunk of her season, but just expect her to continue to develop. And I think everybody in the league's going to go through it, right? Those fifth year COVID years are starting to run up, and it's back to bringing in those new kids, and it's a challenge, but it's an exciting challenge. It's kind of getting back to how it was before. I know for me, I look forward to the day when you look on a roster and you're not guessing if this kid's coming back or not for another team.
Yeah.
When it says senior, you're done. You're done having to
Yeah.
game plan against them when it says senior. I'm glad these kids got another opportunity, absolutely, but I look forward to not having to play the guessing game of what everybody's roster is going to look like because of who's taken a COVID year or not.
And it's kind of funny. Everybody talks about the transfer portal, and it really doesn't affect the NAIA as much as it does the upper level college sports. But, in essence, the COVID year has basically been a transfer portal situation for a lot of schools. Just,
Absolutely.
just knowing whether or not, like you said, whether your players are going to come back.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. And there's it's not necessarily a negative either, Bob. I think kids leave. It's not always there's a little bit of a negative light, but people have to understand. Some of these kids get their degree from whatever school they're at, and they want to. They're making a move to better themselves for the right reasons. Academically, they might be taking an extra year to go into a master's program somewhere, or go to a school that has a degree that the school they've been at. And so it's not all a negative thing. A lot of them are making moves for the right reasons, academically speaking. But it's just a different day and age. I mean, we don't see it like the Division 1 level where kids are hopping around, but there's a lot of Division 1 bounce backs in our league that are having great success, and the kids are moving around a little bit more, and that kind of seems to be the landscape of it, and everybody's just trying to navigate that properly. I think it's shifting more and more towards the landscape of putting together the best roster you can for that upcoming season and filling your needs right there, and seeing how everything plays out.
Well, JC, let's talk a little bit about the tournament. For once, I'm glad it's back under one roof. I just think it's going to be great. A neutral floor. Um, the way I get it, it's going to be Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and the one and twos get a bye, and three play six, four play five. Is that correct?
Yep, that's exactly correct. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, essentially 8 games, 8 games Sunday, 8 games Monday, right? Yeah, and then the two championships. So I'm with you, Bob. Born and raised Montana. What a special time. You're involved with it, like tournament time in the springtime for the high schools, right? Just such a fun environment. You mentioned the weather. Sometimes it's bad, but it's always kind of seems like that's when you look up and it's like, oh, it's kind of hinting at spring a little bit. You're traveling around. Once you're in those buildings, the excitement of it, and then now being able to apply that at the Frontier Conference level. We have a deep history in the state of basketball, and I've I've had multiple people this season come out of the crowd, just talk about how excited they are coming to it, and the people, right, the old rancher that is a MSU Northern Lights fan that's driving down to Great Falls, and he's going to sit there and watch 5 or 6 games under one roof. The Frontier Conference men's and women's side is such great basketball. It's all Montana league now. You have a lot of Montana kids in the league, and being able to have that type of environment. I know the coaches around the league that have participated in the national tournament. The national tournament part of it is special, but it's just so cool being under one roof, walking in there, watching games. And if you're a hoops head and you're a basketball junkie in the state, you can go up there, watch high school basketball all weekend, stick around and watch 8 high-level college basketball games in one day. Pretty cool environment. I look forward to it. I'm glad it's happening, and I think it'll be a good thing for the state.
We've talked to a lot of people brought it up a lot, JC, and in the past, probably the last few years that they had it, it was in Butte, and a lot of those times it was LC and West Mini playing against
Yep.
each other, and nobody showed up from Montana, so this year with like you say, we're all from Montana, and I just think that everybody travels pretty good in the frontier.
Yeah.
It's people don't realize it, but I mean, I sit at games. I talk about the crowd usually every game, and it's amazing how well other teams travel in the Frontier Conference.
Yep, you're exactly right. I think other people are going to watch other people. I know I'm coaching in it, but I'm going to watch as much hoops as I possibly can in that. And you mentioned when it was in Butte, I remember my parents driving me down to watch it, and you're exactly right. West Utah versus Idaho in it, and just didn't kind of have the same effect once it got to the championship, level of
Yeah.
that. But no, I'm excited for us. I think we'll see it, and then we've mentioned this COVID thing and this post-COVID world we live in. I just hope it's an event like people get back to what we remember, right? Let's get out there and go get around each other and just watch some great hoops and enjoy that. And Montana has such a rich basketball history. I hope this just kind of brings back a piece of it for people to enjoy.
All right, one more question. I'll let you go, JC. And I know that you do a lot of youth camps, youth training in basketball.
Yep.
You're a college coach. You recruit. What's your thoughts on kids today? And I'm going to throw the word out there: social media. What do you tell those kids, or do you tell those young kids anything about social media as a camp coordinator? And what do you tell them as a college recruiter?
Yeah, I'll hopefully this isn't controversial on it. I'm about as anti the social media train as you can. I think uh, it's a highlight video, right? So I think from a big standpoint, nobody's kids aren't posting. Nobody's posting their day-to-day adversity or the hard times on social media, right? It's all a highlight reel. So it's just led to this perception of just this perfect utopia world where everything's great and you get everything you want, and nobody's posting the adversity out there. So I have significant concern about how it's had an impact on kids from that standpoint. You can't take the phones away, right? It's happened so fast. I remember you go back to Coach Keller. Coach Keller used to not let us have cell phones at team meals, right? That wasn't that long ago when I played for him. Some restaurants you go to, you got to scan a QR code to order your food. So you have to have your phone, right? Think about how quickly that's happened. So I don't think you can take the technology piece away from it. I'm just worried that social media has tainted kids' view of how the world works a little bit, and then it doesn't show adversity, and it's a highlight reel, and I'm worried about how that's impacts on kids' ability to take on adversity and take on challenges. I mentioned I have a 2.5-year-old daughter, got twins on the way, and it's an interesting time to be. It's always an interesting time to be a parent, but she's going to grow. They're going to grow up in a world that requires technology. um, for their existence and their betterment, absolutely. But how do you prevent lower the screen time or the exposure, right? So it's always going to be a little bit of a balance from that standpoint. And then finally, to kind of wrap up this question about, I think one thing I'm concerned about, and I get asked and I try to give honest feedback, is it's just like everything else. There's people out there that exploit it. You know, telling kids doing telling kid, giving the wrong perception of what social media, they have to have this brand, they have to have this to get somewhere, to get noticed, to do all this stuff. I mean, I'm a recruiter. Our job is to find the kids. A good old fashioned 3-minute highlight video, we'll do just fine on that. I just think and probably to your point, it can do more harm than anything. If anybody starts putting things out there they should be putting out there, or once you post something on the internet, it's always there. So it can cause a lot of harm in a lot of those ways. I hope we trend towards a direction where there's not as emphasis put on it as there once was, and if there is, just concerned about kids' ability to take adversity and hard times, because social media is just a highlight reel that shows all the good things, right? And it kind of becomes an expectation of life, and adversity and hard times is a piece of life.
Yep, that's for sure. Well, thanks for coming on, JC. I appreciate it. And, good luck the rest of the season with you and the Argos there. I guess I don't get to see you in regular season anymore. Maybe we'll get to see you at the tournament.
I'll see you at the tournament, Bob. Thank you.
And I want to thank JC for stepping in for Coach Bill Himmelberg, as Bill is out recruiting and had to change some flights today, so he couldn't make it. We'll go over the standings. We talked a little bit about it. First, on the women's side, Carroll College on top, all by themselves right now at 11-1 in the conference. They are 20-5 overall. Montana Western and Rocky are tied at 9-3 in conference play. 21-4 for the Bulldogs. Rocky at 17-7. Providence is 4-8 in conference, 14-11 overall. Montana Tech is 3-9 in the conference and 7-15 overall. And Northern is 0-12 and 7-18. Games last week on the women's side in the Frontier. Rocky got Providence 61-44. Carroll over Northern 59-36, and Western over Tech 71-47. Those games last Thursday. Games on Saturday, it was Rocky over Tech 59-54, Carroll over Western 69-61, and Providence over Northern 68-51. Some games coming up this Thursday. It'll be Northern at Rocky. Carroll will travel to Tech. Western is at Providence. And on Saturday, Rocky will travel to Carroll. Tech will travel to Providence. And Northern will be at Western. On the men's side, it's Montana Tech on top with a 9-3 mark, 21-4 overall. Northern and Providence are tied at 7-5 in conference. Northern 18-7 overall. Providence 13-12. Carroll College at 5-7. They are 11-12 overall. Rocky is 4-8. They are 12-12 overall. And Montana Western at 4-8 as well. They are 9-16 overall. Last week's games, last Thursday, it was Rocky over Providence 93-75. Montana Tech over Western 86-61. And Northern got Carroll College 79-61. On Saturday, it was Western over Carroll 63-57. Tech over Rocky 89-82. And Northern over Providence 90-68. Down to the last two weekends, as I gave who will be playing on the last weekend. The games will be on February 18th and those game start times will be at 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock, and it'll be Providence at Carroll, Tech at Northern, and Rocky at Western. JC and I talked a little bit about the Frontier Conference tournament that will take place in Great Falls at Four Seasons Arena from February 26th through the 28th. That's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. The number one and number two teams will get byes, and three will play six, and four will play five on Sunday. The number one seed will take on the lowest remaining seed, and the number two seed will take on the highest remaining seed on Monday, with the championship games on Tuesday. Well, that's going to wrap us up today. Paul, not able to join us today, had some family commitments to do and take care of, but we will be back next week with more on the Frontier Conference. Once again, I want to thank JC Isakson for sitting in and chatting with us. Great to talk to one of the great young minds and upcoming good minds in college basketball. Want to thank him, and until next week, stay safe. And I'd like to thank our guests that come on the show and talk about Montana high school sports. Without them, this show would not be possible. And once again, if you like this podcast, please click on the subscribe button below to get alerts when we have up a new podcast.